So in retreat and generally in Citta Bhavana, one of the themes is to regain strength, regain energy, regain clarity. Things have got blurred, things have got compulsive, got a bit careless. Just to reset and get one's energy collected. Samadhi, the energy of the heart, is collected into itself rather than spun out. It's more useful to consider, I think, samadhi as this, the citta collecting itself into itself, rather than focusing on a point. Focusing on a point works for you, then of course that's what you do, but the aim is the unification of the citta. One-pointed citta, cittasa ekagata. So the Buddha never recommends we concentrate on anything. So if you're mindful of things, that's your concentration on things is mindfulness. Through doing that and through dispelling the hindrances, the citta doesn't go out into aversion and craving and get lost in dullness, spin around in doubt, get frenzied in restlessness. It doesn't go out into all that. It withdraws, it collects into itself. And so then samadhi is a place you arrive at rather than something you do. You do sati, you do wisdom, you do inquiry, and you see what you can no longer need, what can be released, which is useless or frustrating or pointless or downright stressful. And gaining the dexterity and agility and resolve to do that. You do the path and you arrive at view. You don't do a view. You climb the right mountain, you get the right view. Don't climb the mountain, you don't get a view. Just to sit in the town, in the hubbub, in your domestic tangle. Move through that. Work through it carefully. Everything's got something to teach us. How to handle thoughts, impulses, volitions, and so on. Energies, desires, resistances, phobias, situations, complexities, unresolved issues, problems, how to meet that and gain strength through meeting and through not getting frazzled, tangled, angry, upset, defeated, crushed by it all. It's strength. So although we talk about letting go and relinquishment, it's not about becoming a submissive self or a weak, pusillanimous self. It's not about becoming a self at all. It's about relinquishing volitions and perceptions. Khandhas, aggregates, relinquishing the hold on them so that citta can withdraw into itself. There's a safe place where the world doesn't get you, where the aggregate can't claw you. Where the drip, drip, drip of consciousness doesn't seek, doesn't penetrate. And the urge keeps stimulating more thoughts and impulses is contained. We're not firing up consciousness to make more thoughts, more ideas. Slowly. Linger. One thought. Linger in the meaning of it. Slow the whole process of mental consciousness. You can slow it down and make use of it. And then begin to filter. Where's this one come from? Thought is not a problem, it's the energy that drives it. And the basis it comes from. Thought associated with ill will, conceit, pride, cynicism, bitterness, disparagement. Slow it down. Then you reveal the underlying emotional currents, the underlying sankharas. And then this one, not good. Doesn't feel good. And, soften the energy, turn to the body, drawing it back, like this, practice. And the energy is then collected, it's not shut off, it's gathered back. So there's transformation of defilement and suffering and into strength. So you don't want to get rid of the energy, you just want to collect it, gather it. So this gives great strength to the citta when it gathers its energy instead of leaking out. Leakage, asava, the outflows, the cracks. The energy dribbles out, pours out, rushes out into what? Becoming something, escape, progress, ambition, futures, or escapism, vibhava tanha, get me out of here, let me get out, whatever, don't be here, craving, sense craving. So we can get buried into. Citta leaks out, its energy pours out in this way, and then it generates fantasies based on that. So, what's happening? Where are things breaking open? Where's the citta? Look for where it's broken, where it's leaking. Put your energy there. Carefully, warm-heartedly. Good heart, good intention, warm heart. That does the healing. You don't need to go there. Again, gently, patiently reminding it. Like teaching a child. That kind of quality of firm, careful, loving guidance. And then there's, we can turn frustrating events, situations around, frustrations with ourselves, frustrations with the world around us. This is very much cultivation. And this life, renunciate life, community life, we're often finding ourselves in situations which are not personally of one's personal shape, or fit, taste. And you kind of, well, just don't go out into it. You can, don't put your, so going out is often one of when you feel your energy goes out, you start to lock onto details and get obsessed, inflamed, or start fiddling and adjusting. We could paint it this way, we could fiddle with that, we could do this. And it's just how much of that you want to do before you just keep returning and strengthening. And this is the way that we, as it is said, one turns, one sees the aggregates as problematic, as uncomfortable, as something that leads to no great fruition, turns the citta away from the aggregates to the deathless. Thus, this is peaceful, it's sublime. The stilling of sankharas, the relinquishment of acquisitions and residues, old habits, the destruction of craving, dispassion, detachment, nibbana. So the unbinding of the citta. So, so the images are not one of a kind of a feebly fading out, but an unbinding of something of great potency that we can't describe in terms of the manifest world because it's not gone out into the manifest world. So it remains elusive to describe. But you look at the example of the Buddha, this is not a kind of weak-minded person. This is not a person of inactivity. This is a person of considerable resolve and strength. Will go and sit in front of a raging king and his entire army. Sit still in front of them and say, "The shade of my kinsman keeps me cool." And they'll back off. This is a man of considerable strength, courage, and fearlessness. Going out into the aggregates, going out into Namarupa, another name for the aggregates, Namarupa Vijnana. And you can look at it that way. Nama, the way things are described, it's a set of behaviours that describe experience, perceptions, impressions, memories. Look at a clock, you look at this thing and it says clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's perception. If you have Alzheimer's, you look at it, nothing happens. The mechanism doesn't work. Or we can look at this strange object with some numbers written on it and immediately get a sense of time and place. That's a behaviour that leads to a description. That's useful, isn't it? Sanya, where you kind of remember what it means, and that, so you don't have to work out how things work every day. You've got that established. And that's very helpful when you sanya, and yet we apply it to a physical object like that. It works. But of course, you can use the clock as a paperweight. You could use a glass as a glass, a vase. You could use it as turn it upside down, use it as a stand, put a Buddha Rupa on it. You could drink lemonade out of it. You could roll it and use it to roll paper flat with. So the Nama is very much a flexible possibility. How things are described, how they're perceived, and how we react to them. The actions they trigger. We look at a clock, we don't think of eating it. We think of that's it, really. Look at a glass, you think of water or lemonade or whatever. You get a volition is suggested by the perception. And of course you look at the glass and think, oh, it's empty. I feel disappointed. I wasn't disappointed before that, but now I look at a glass and see it's empty, I feel disappointed. So you get these volitions can just jump up that weren't really that useful. Well, and it gets more, of course, this whole process gets more problematic when we're dealing with living, responsive creatures, human beings and animals. When does a pig become bacon? When is it a China pig that you put money in? When is it a cute little squeaky thing? is it an animal that can be fed? When is it a creature that you slaughter? When is it meat that you eat? Same thing, and yet profoundly different shift of perceptions of volitions. Human beings, even more profound set of perceptions and volitions can occur. Comparisons, projections, what I want from him, what she reminds me of, and so on. All this stuff can start running out, volitions of desire, of avoidance, of fears, phobias, comparisons, jealousies. He shouldn't be this way. Why is she always like that? The stuff can start running out. Right? Woo! Just draw it back. Not because they're right or they're great, but it's just you don't need to do that, do you? Can you have some control over it? Can you gather it back? How do you do that? You come back into your body, sitting here, and you feel that steady. This is better. This is more safe. This is more stable. And when the citta is stable, there's a subtler kind of emanation. The sankhara is called loving kindness, patience. These are suffusive. You see that they're described. Volitions are often described in ways that kind of jump, dart, rush out, like fire. But the beneficial sankharas that just emanate are more like water. They permeate, they suffuse. And you feel this gentle emanation of peacefulness, goodwill. And the world changes. Things that are annoying, you feel a sense of dispassion. Things that are fascinating, you feel a sense of coolness. Things that are irritating, you feel compassion. People are having difficulties, you feel equanimity or compassion. People are getting praise, you feel a sense of gladness rather than envy. You think of yourself and you, what? Why bother? So just letting it be open. Beautiful openness. So when the citta is properly placed. So then one can live a really enjoyable life with beautiful things arising and these distressing and aggravating and ugly experiences terminating. The energy is gathered back, and then when it comes out in ways that are more gentle, kindly, firm, clear. So we're not cutting off volition, we're just checking the leakage and the errors and returning to the citta and then opening to what's around us in terms of our world and our internal world or external world. We have painful memories, we have things we feel regret about our behaviour. We have areas where we've definitely made mistakes. Now we can't just kind of keep saying, well, so what? No, but there's a quality of forgiving, and that was an error, we see that, okay. And then gentle compassion, recognizing you have to learn, encourage, understand how it happened, and then more positive growth, way of progress. The retreats. I mean, so the group practice can be quite a challenge. Being on your own could be a challenge. which are things like cold and heat and so on. And Britain is obviously a cold country in the winter time, but at least you can get warm. You can go inside, you can put more clothes on. I think the most difficult ones have been in Thailand, when occasionally it does get quite chilly. Not chilly by British standards, but you've only got a very one thin cotton robe. So you feel it, and the wind bites. You've got nothing. You're sitting there, and it's freezing wind, chilling you. Nowhere to go. Be there. And when it's hot, you can't go anywhere. I know monks saying this monk saying he hid under his kuti, he crawled under his kuti because it was so hot, he just had to try and crawl underneath his kuti to get somewhere out of the heat. And in the cold weather, just crawl under the leaves on the ground to try and get some sort of coverage. I think, wow, this is so... and then you just still have to basically endure. And that's considered, that's what you signed up for. And it's not all the time, but it can be like that. I went to Tudong in Thailand, and I had this mosquito net umbrella clot, which most of you know about, sort of like a beach umbrella, which you can get underneath, and you get a mosquito get around it. You can sit upright, and you don't get the bugs, don't get you. Of course, I'm a bit bigger than these. The span of these nets are a bit longer, so everything below my knees tends to stick out. But you can kind of curl up a bit, and you can get under that thing. And I was on Tudong and hung this grot up, and it started raining. I kind of curled up, everything underneath it. Then the wind blew, and the wind blew the umbrella, so it flew. So the rain just swept in. And you huddle in the rain sweeping. It's dark, nighttime dark, rain. You huddle over. Your back gets wet, your feet get wet. So you abandon your back, you abandon your feet. Your hands, you abandon your arms. You abandon your head. And it's gradually the wet, cold is rain, the water is finally seeking everything. It's just got this little chest, is still a little bit, there's the chest is gone. Just a little area around my navel, trying to protect a little bit of patch to be warm, and then that went too. There's nothing, just all you can do is lie there in the rain and mud, waiting, curled up, until the sun comes up, 4 or 5 hours, it's lying there. Dark, rain, mud, cold, wet. The sun comes up and you crawl out, and creak, unfold. That's how feeble the human body is. This animal is out there living in this all the time, this feeble human body. And then you just really just have to be patient. Didn't like it, but you do get through. You don't seek it out, but if it happens, that's what you do, isn't it? When you don't have a choice, that makes it easy in some respect. It's when we have choices, it gets more difficult. Or we think we have choices. We want to have choices. I remember in the winter retreat at Namarupa, in the early days, we used to sit together in the shrine room, which is sort of somewhat smaller than this Dhamma hall, this area, somewhat narrower and shorter. Probably about 2/3 the width or half the width. It's quite not huge. Anyway, whatever size it was like 50, 55 of us into this thing. It was pretty squashed like a railway carriage. And it was winter time. There were the windows up on the walls, top of the walls, as you probably know if you've lived there. So naturally, if 50 people get it, 55 or so many people get in there, and the air goes very stuffy. So somebody leaps up, opens the window, you hear this click, clonk, crack, crack, the window opens. And so it's cold, it's cold. It's cold, you have to go up the window. I can't leave, I can't breathe. It's cold, close the windows, draft going down my neck. You sit there, shut up. This is kind of little argument going over the window, and then somebody says, bang, and it goes shut. Okay. And then somebody else opens another window, click, crack, crack. It's cold, it's cold. The window. You're sitting there, there we go again. Another one. There's a quarrel going on. And there's these various windows opening and shutting in the meditation. So you have to have a group decision. There's a window monitor. So the monk who's the window monitor says, whenever we go out walking meditation, we open the windows, fresh air, we come in, and we close the windows. Okay? Everybody agrees to that. Could you just a little bit, can we have a little bit open, just a little bit? I can't, it's pain down my draft down my neck, it's getting cold. So you just sort of sit there, okay. And then you realise, so of course when everybody goes out, all the doors open, and then they come in. Here. Door, crash, bang. Crash, bang. Bang. That's it. Quiet. Bang. Okay, it's just another one. This happens 30 times. That's the end of that. Then okay, finished, and then just settling down in. Excuse me, gotta get through. Where's it? Could you get out of the way, please? There's a shoes. Put the shoes there. Crash, bang. You're just thinking. I don't want to open my eyes. I don't want to see who turns up 10 minutes late. I don't want to have an explanation as to why they couldn't turn up in time, why they got lost somewhere, or in the toilet, or lost their hat, or something other. I just need to know how to work with this mind state. And just kind of like, here we are. And then abandon various notions of how it should be, and quiet, and no noise, and steady. And human beings are in difficulty. Yeah. Human beings are not the same. Yeah. And compassion. Here we are. Yeah. This is the one I can train. This one. Return. Return. Steady. And then, because then when you actually begin to dismantle, you realise that citta doesn't see people. It doesn't see people. It just experiences feeling, perception. Yeah. And perception is very illusory. Is a clock a paperweight? Could be. Is a glass a vase or a drinking vessel? Could be. Human beings, what do you actually hear? Sound. Yeah. Sound, touching, contact, impression, perception, contact. Yeah. Citta is contacted, perceptions arise, attention goes to that, volition starts, well, should be, want, make, do, stop, return, contact, relinquish there. Don't need any more than that at this point. Relinquish there. It's contact. Don't need to add the pictures and images. That's already that's something to deal with, contact. So it's turning back to citta, to the sense of presence, of awareness, of knowingness, center. Energy is steadied, collected, cooled, released from blowing out, going out. With the welling, so this contact is an aspect of nama, descriptions going through contact, perception, feeling, attention, and volitions, intentions. They name or designate an object. That's something to hit nails in with. That's something to drink out of. So the perception brings up a suggested volition. Right. This is something to put in a drawer. This is something to put on my feet. So perceptions suggest volitions. You don't have to do them. Nama. Rupa, there's an object. And the objects always are very flexible, actually. Rupa, appearances. If you take the most obvious appearance, the appearance of a human body, very changeable. Now, externally it changes, you can see different shapes, textures over time, but intimately it changes even more rapidly. Fire, earth, water, air, elements playing. What is this? It's appearances that change. Sick body, happy body, hungry body, cold body, passionate body, depressed body, busy body, stiff body. Quite different, aren't they? Appearances. Any one of them we can lock onto and take issue with, fight with, or get fascinated by. That's a volition, but we don't really need to do that, do we? So then the citta goes out to this Namarupa. It gets interested in it. It gets bound up with it. With the welling up of Namarupa is the arising of the citta. Citta rises up. With the ceasing, Namarupa, the citta withdraws, atangamo. It doesn't cease, it just goes down like the sun. The energy cools down. When the ending, so the citta is not firing up, illuminating those namas, those aggregates, putting energy into them, they disappear from one's experience. Citta, cool. It's taken to be like the fire goes out. Now, this is, of course, sort of mysterious and seemingly beyond our grasp, but we can just work on little pieces of it. So the thirst for contact, which wishes to have something to be fed by, and sight, sounds, touches, thoughts, feel that energy moving out and just gathering that and bringing it back into his breathing, in the body, just having some steering on that. So instead of just being, the Buddha likened it, contact, to being like a cow with its skin stripped off so the flies bite it. So you've got some skin. That doesn't have to impact me. Sight, sound, touch doesn't have to impact me because I'm abiding in this centre. Doesn't mean I'm oblivious, but the contact is not just touching the senses. What touches the heart? What can we see with our eyes and just say, okay, that's that, and not take it in, not feed on it. That's the practice. We see sights, and we hear sounds, you don't feed on them. Just There's how contact is cooled from avidya, passa, from ignorance contact. It's just any old thing. Or things that we got a particular, activations around, habits around. Bodies, buildings, computers, plants, whatever, you've given your interest to it. Then can you withdraw it? So you're not feeding on it. You can move out to those areas when and as, but you're not feeding on it for your own need. So life, citta comes out with service rather than craving. Desire is chanda rather than tanha. Then we begin to be more picky about our contact impressions, what stabs the heart, what touches the heart, and how to keep the heart safe, collected, steadied in itself. You hear voices, you hear conversations, okay? You need to go into it, you just hearing that, not mine, not necessary. Just hearing it, not feeding on it. So we cultivate like this. Thoughts pop into the mind, memories come up, images and impressions arise. Where can you find a place where they're not as overwhelming you? Back into your body, breathing in, breathing out, walking, stabilizing, steadying. Like this you withdraw. There can still be some degree of thought going on, but it's no longer obsessive, it's no longer overwhelming, it's just what's necessary to stay on track. Like this we moderate contact, like this we moderate volition, like this we moderate perception. What is really meaningful and the thing to bear in mind is the perception. Perception of impermanence is a good one. Perception of turning away, perception of relinquishment is a good one. Yes, this can be relinquished. This will change. Then the fascination, the heat, the entanglement, the inflammation of the citta ceases. Citta retires. Like this we practice. And it can seem like a negative agenda. Like all the time we're kind of giving up this and stopping that and not doing this and not having that. Yeah, I agree with you. But the experience, if it's cultivated wisely, is not aversive, it's protective. And it's redemptive. You regain your strength. You get your strength where it needs to be. And you value it. You get your heart where it needs to be, and you value it. You don't lose it. You don't let it drip and leak and burst. That seems to be a very wise and skillful mode of practice. So like this, we cultivate, and you establish that kind of modality, and then you notice the things that come up that perhaps need to be recognized. One's impulsiveness, one's concerns, one's sorrows. Okay, then we've got the strength then to meet these things with a sense of discernment and discrimination. This is what can be done, this is what can be released, this is what can be endured and allowed to pass in its own time, as it will. If you don't put energy into it, it will fade. Sometimes these things take months, a while, but if you don't put energy into them, they will fade. If you don't keep going back to these areas, they will lose their glow. It's our heart that gives them power, and returning it. Like this we cultivate, long term, immediate, in various scenarios, in a long term picture of what we're doing. Like this we feel safe and confident, and we know we can do our work carefully. So, offer this for your reflection and appreciation and good wishes for your practice.